before I started this business, I would always just kind of, whenever you see something happening that didn't make any sense, I would think to myself, well, it's common sense. Why would they do that? Why wouldn't they already understand that? And I just automatically assumed people knew what I wanted. I just assumed that because of course it's common sense. But what I realized that if you don't actually just spell it out exactly the way you want, people will just do whatever they think is okay. I've learned that I need to over communicate because not everybody's going to think the way I do. I need to be able to repeat myself to make sure they understand and clearly get it. So it's that type of thing that I've learned to be better at communicating. And I'm still learning because it's something I still struggle with.
All right, so Kwan-Soo, I know we were talking about this stuff, man, and I just wanted to record it if you don't mind. And that's pretty much talking about the mindsets and beliefs that holds gym owners back. I know you're friends with a lot of gym owners. I've met hundreds throughout the years, and there's certain things we've noticed that kind of pops up with a lot of gym owners just in the industry. Could be in other industries. Obviously, we just recognize it in our own because we work in it. But like, these are things that keep our friends back, because that's how I see them. These other gym owners are my friends, and I want them to be successful, make good money, and not have their business suck the life out of them. I want it to serve them, and it should enrich your life. It shouldn't make it the opposite, worse. And that's what tends to happen when people have these mindsets and these beliefs that hold them back. So the first one I want to talk about, because I know you put a good amount of resources into your grand opening and then in your ongoing marketing, is that I recognize a lot of gym owners are very afraid and kind of penny pinching when it comes to putting money into marketing, and that holds them back. But could you speak on how that has helped your business and how, marketing has paid off for you?
Yeah, man. I mean, look, it was absolutely critical. Right. When I started, after I signed on, I started becoming more aware of what I needed to do to have, first step was getting a grand opening. And everybody wants to have an amazing grand opening, but not that many people have had it. And I've noticed that, at least with this particular franchise I'm with. And so I kind of went in search of, what was the magic, what was the secret sauce behind it, and so, a little bit of my history. I traveled around the country. I visited, I don't know how many studios. I came to your gyms out in California. I visited, I don't know how many in California. I've been to, Matt Wilbur's up in Michigan. I've toured around the tri-state area here in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, visiting, because I kind of really wanted to understand, right, what made one really successful. But from that, you can't really tell how to have a great grand opening. So I listened to my mentors, and my mentors, more often than not, they all said, you got to market more. And then initially it was called they call it pre-sale, right? Being a kind of a novice, I didn't even know what the heck that meant. And pre-sale means you have to sell all these memberships before you even open. But in order to do that, you got to build the energy and the buzz around town. The only way to really do that is to market. So I kind of asked around, how much money should I spend? How many leads should I have? And different numbers popped up. And at some point I had determined that, okay, in order for me to have the grand opening that I wanted, I need to have about 2,000 leads. That's what I was shooting for. And to be honest, it wasn't going to matter how much I spent. I was going to spend any amount of money I needed to get those 2,000 leads. Now, thankfully, in our area, maybe it's because I'm brand new, the leads were relatively cheap. So I probably spent, I don't know, $6,000 in the span of about 7 months. Okay, so that's a pretty good chunk of money.
Yep.
And I would have spent more because I was determined to get 2,000.
What would you say is like a bare minimum somebody should set aside for a grand opening campaign?
Oh, I would say $5,000.
Okay.
Yeah, because yeah, I wanted to get to a minimum. Initially, I thought I wanted just 1,000 leads, but then I determined, how many people do I want in my grand opening? When I realized exactly what I wanted, I decided I needed to have 2,000, and I put all the money I needed to. So I wanted to project how many leads I could get, and I put as much money as I needed to on a monthly basis to get those leads. Thankfully, I got there. I had my grand opening, and I think you probably know I had a really great, amazing grand opening. And I, attribute that, primarily, I want to say 90% of that to just the money and time I spent marketing.
Yes.
At the end of the day, I did my own marketing. You taught me how to do it. I did my own Facebook marketing. I didn't really know much about it. But then after I started to get busy here in the studio, I realized I couldn't spend much time on it. So I hired a marketing company to do it for me.
Yeah.
And that was another great decision because I needed to spend my time on and my energies on making the experience here really great.
And what would you say, like, so if you spent like, if somebody were to spend 5+K on their grand opening, what about just ongoing? Like, what's daily ad spend for you? What do you kind of budget for marketing monthly?
Yeah, for me, minimum $1,000 a month. So what is that? A little over $30 a month, a day.
A day, yeah.
And I used to get, I don't know, 14, 15 leads a day, but now it's trickled down to 4. Yeah. But I'm not gonna be disappointed at how the market has changed a bit. But
well, the thing is, dude, that's still wild because marketing used to be 10 grand a month when you needed to put an ad in the newspaper or the yellow pages or get a billboard. Like businesses would literally have to set aside that type of budget to get a good marketing campaign. So for digital ads to run for $1,000 a month and you get real-time feedback on how they're performing, because everything else was like just send and pray. I hope they respond to my mailers. I hope someone calls me from the billboard, and there's no way to measurably track it. So this is very trackable. The other cool thing is that it's very targeted. Like we typically, group training facilities target women, middle-aged. So it's like your money is only going to them. You're not wasting any money on some teenagers or people that are out of your age category. So it's just like it's such the best return on your money that, again, when people kind of gripe about it, I'm like, this is actually a very great deal. Like it's not that bad. But the biggest reason that I noticed at my own facilities and the other gyms that we work with is the big price jump happened when Apple released that update where you could turn off that you're being tracked and retargeted and all those types of things. And I know even at my facilities, my cost per lead went from $20 to $30. And so, you got to, but that was like fall 2021. So
I'm going to tell you flat out right now, that's exactly when my leads went from 14 down to like 4 or 5. And I didn't change my ad spend. So obviously, it tripled my ads cost of leads. So I didn't realize that. Okay, so I learned something.
Yep. So there you go. So yeah, if any gym owners are watching this, guys, you got to invest in marketing. Like it's just necessary if you want to grow your business at the fastest pace possible.
There are 2 ways that you're going to spread the word: word of mouth, or Facebook marketing. And on a monthly basis, I'm getting about 100 leads with $1,000.
Yeah.
But I'm also spending, on the marketing company, right? Okay. So it's essentially double that. But what people I think sometimes miss is when your ads are running out there, not everybody is going to click on the ad, because what happens is you get one person that clicks on the ad. That person goes and tells somebody about this great deal they have. Let's go check them out. And, since I started marketing the new LBO, it was late late March. And in 6 weeks, I have about 120 leads, but I have sold over 120 trials. And that's because the person who sees the ad isn't the one, isn't just the only one. They're the person that tells their friends, hey, let's go do this. You know, the word spreads because the word is out there through Facebook. And then also you have referrals here. But that's, I think, a byproduct that people don't really consider.
Yeah. All right. Well, I would say a second category that I see mindset and belief that holds gym owners back is not hiring help and just trying to be a one-man show. And I don't know many successful gym owners that are just building it off of their back. And so sometimes they can get trapped. They can just keep doing that for long periods of time where it just becomes normal. And then they just don't ever think about getting out of that. But that's the one thing you need to work on it as soon as possible if you really want to create a business that serves you and doesn't suck the life out of you. And one of the things I always try to point out is that I've seen my facilities grow exponentially within 1 or 2 hires. Like, we're not talking about hiring a 12-person team. Like, one person, like if you're covering all sessions, you just hire one morning coach and they gave you half your day back. Then if you do a second hire that ran all the evening sessions, you got your entire day back. So it's like you're 1 to 2 hires from having the business of your dreams. But some people think it's like when you hear team, it's a giant team, and it doesn't. You're a small business, you know, you're going to add a smaller team, but they will make gigantic returns on your time and your money. So can you speak on like any hires that you've had that were like a game changer for you, or, you know, just talking about gym owners struggling to invest in a teammate?
Yeah, well, just most recently, a neighboring Fit Body went out of business, and I picked up 2 of their coaches. One of them, her name is Melissa, is just like probably my best team member because she's an amazing coach.
Wow.
On top of that, she's great behind the desk, admin work, everything, you know, and anything I give her, she gets it done. She's well organized. And these are qualities that you don't really see in a coach. You know, these are qualities that I think I'm more of a coach than I am anything else. So I struggle with all these things that require organization and sitting behind the desk and doing all that stuff. Yeah. But she is amazing at those things. My other coach is a constant coach. He's great at coaching, you know, and I haven't given him much else, but he does have other responsibilities. But exactly what you said. If you can give somebody really effective some work that takes takes it off your desk and off your table, you have time to do really important things like think of ways to drive revenue and progress your business.
And all right, well, good. I'm glad that you kind of like agree with me on that one. What about like not communicating? It really could be anybody, but like I've just seen a lot of gym owners struggle with communication, with their team, with their clients. I think it's a huge skill set that our people need to really work on intentionally building. And, one of the examples I give is like when people kind of get passive aggressive about something that's bothering them, and there was like a gym owner where they would leave the dumbbells on the floor. They'd go take them off the rack. They'd do their set. They'd leave it on the floor. And so they would try to handle it in a very indirect way. They put a sign up first and said, re-rack your weights. And then they, would get on the microphone and say, all members, please remember to re-rack your weights after using them. And then they sent out an email blast saying, hey, attention members, we've been seeing racks on the floor or dumbbells on the floor. Please be sure to re-rack them. And I kind of stopped them and I said, have you directly spoken to the client that's, doing this? And they're like, no. And I was like, so you're literally dancing around the subject. I was like, your communication skills suck, man. Like you need to go directly to the client and handle it one-on-one. And I think that holds a lot of people back because if they can improve their communication, they can sell better, they can lead their team better, they can hold their rules and their policies within their facility better. But a lot of times they just bottle it in and just take it home and just, suffer with it. Is there anything that you would give in terms of advice of how to improve on that, or times, or examples of where communicating helped you solve a problem?
Oh my God, yeah. I can tell you that, before I started this business, I would not have considered myself a good communicator. I would always just kind of, whenever you see something happening that didn't make any sense, I would think to myself, well, it's common sense. Why would they do that?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they already understand that? And I just automatically assumed people knew what I wanted. I just assumed that because of course, it's common sense. But when I realized that if you don't actually just spell it out exactly the way you want, people will just do whatever they think is okay. And I'll tell you, going back to before I opened, I had my coaches training how to coach a session. We had like actual people come in. We coached them through demo sessions, and I noticed that after this session, that they would set up, and things would just be messy.
Mhm.
And I would just ask them, "Hey, can you make sure it's all nice and tidy?" And it was never done. It was never neat and tidy. And what I realized was I wasn't really explaining to them what that meant, right? So I actually had to write up guidelines, real like clear guidelines. Um, I've learned that I need to over communicate because not everybody's going to think the way I do. I need to be able to repeat myself to make sure they understand and clearly get it. I've had a couple of coaches that, even though I have it clearly written down in guidelines about the use of cell phones during a session, or even when clients are in the studio, that I have a policy against it, but it doesn't register. It doesn't register. So you got to pull them aside, talk to them one-on-one and say, hey, look, I have this policy and there's a reason for it. When you're on your phone and clients are in the studio, what does that say to the client? It says to the client that you really don't care, you're not paying attention, you're just busy on your phone. So it's that type of thing that I've learned to be better at communicating, and I'm still learning because it's something I still struggle with.
It honestly, man, it's something that takes a lot of work. And honestly, the way that you build it as well is through reps. You just need to communicate more. Just like the more sessions you lead, the better coach you become. So I totally hear you on that. One other one we were talking about earlier was like developing your client experience and just your product overall. And I think a lot of facilities will build their product and then they will never touch it again. Like, this is just it. This is what we deliver. And I just need to sell it over and over again. And they never stop and say, can I make it better? Is this really the best we got? Can we improve this? Could we make it more valuable so we could raise our rates because I put more into it? So I guess in terms of, your facility, like, you guys are getting not far away from, 400 members. Like, you guys have created something very attractive. It's magnetic. People want to be there. Could you speak on what makes your product stand out? Like, why is it so amazing and people want it, for in your facility?
Yeah. And then first, when I, the first year before I opened, I wanted to understand the business and how I was going to make it profitable. And what I realized is one thing I needed to determine was who I wanted to be as a gym owner. What do I want to be? What do I want to bring? And in order to determine that, I really had to, like I said early on, I needed to travel around, visit all these studios, and really, take notes on the studios that had that were really great, had great energy. When I walked in, it felt amazing. What made one great, what made one not so great. And I really had to take account of that. Like I said, I traveled to Michigan, I went to California, around the tri-state area, and it really, really got in tune with what I wanted. And there were a bunch of different elements that I wanted to really bring. But the bottom line is, what I realized I needed to do was create amazing culture, right? And that culture all boils down to how you greet somebody at the front door. Not just, hey, how are you? You having a good day? That kind of
That's
thing.
like surface level questions that, like,
Yeah.
the weather, and how you're doing.
Yeah, I like to think that we greet people at the door a little differently than most. There's always somebody right by the front desk waiting. I know everybody's name. Now, not all of my coaches know everybody's in because they work different shifts and they don't see everybody. I'm here all day long, so I know everybody. And that's important to me. So I asked them to try their best to remember people's names. The experience being also that not just the workouts, but from beginning to end, the moment the clock hits, time to start, you got to bring the energy up. You got to get their attention. You got to make it fun from beginning to end. They're going to have a really great experience from the moment they walk through the door until they leave. And I think we have created that. And so what I have seen, is that when somebody comes and tries us out, I rarely have to sell them on anything. They just, okay, where do I sign up? Okay. Now, some people, they'll do a trial and they'll just, at some point they'll be like, it's too expensive for me. And we try to deal with those objections. But some people, when they decide it's too much, it's too much. They're not going to sign up. But if they can afford it, I rarely have a problem ever with other objections. They'll figure it out how to get in because they had such an amazing experience. I don't have to sell anything. There are times when I have to address certain coaches and their behavior because I want to make sure that our culture doesn't break down just because of the behavior of one coach. Me too. Trust me, I've had to make behavioral modifications too, realizing, perhaps I'm doing things that might, raise an eyebrow with certain clients, and I have to reflect and say, hey, I need to make this change so people can feel comfortable around it.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, you have to be constantly trying to figure out ways to create an amazing experience from beginning to end. It's not just a great workout because you got a lot of heavy competition with great workouts. What makes you different than them? Well, I think that our client interaction, our ability to, build relationships, our ability to pick up the energy from beginning to end is probably, unique. I know other fit bodies in the area. I know how the other fit bodies operate. They don't operate the way we do.
Yep.
I just know it.
All right. So I heard, it might not be equipment. I heard it's not, specifically the exercise selection. I heard it's culture and the way people are treated and how they feel when they walk in. And that's very conscious. It's not like, oh yeah, we just happen to have a lot of cool people here. I'm glad you feel awesome. Like, we plan on it. We train on it. It's in our systems. It's in our hiring docs. It's in our training docs. Like, this is a curated experience, right?
I'll give you one perfect example. So we have a fit body not far from us, right? And when we opened, a client came over to us from there because she just looked closer. And, she came in on a Saturday. And so I had a quick chat with her and I said, this is how it works. And she said, I actually kind of know how it works. I go to this other fit body, but this place is much closer. And I said, okay, well, let me go through it anyway. And we did. And it was, I think maybe just a couple of weeks into our grand opening. And it was a Saturday and she arrived early. She was by herself. I put her at a station, went through a few things. And I said, just hang tight. We're going to get going in a little bit. And she was fine. And then in about 5-10 minutes, our real crowd started coming in. And on a Saturday, it was busy. I mean, my Saturday sessions were 40 people plus. And in about 5 minutes, she was surrounded by people. Wow. And I walked over because she looked really nervous. And what she said was, I saw the anxiety in her. I said, she said, this feels overwhelming because she's surrounded by people and the buzz and the energy and the music and everything. It was brand new, even though we were fit body too. So I can tell you that, you can bring an experience, a truly incredible experience. Or you can just, kind of just mail it in, which is what I've seen in the past, and I think that what we have here is pretty special.
And I think a lot of people probably put their experience on a higher pedestal than it really is. Like, to be honest, like, their program just really stinks. Like, they need to improve it. And that would solve a lot of problems because all their clients would go out and tell their friends, everybody would be thrilled. Everyone would be overjoyed. you know, like if you're not seeing that type of response to your culture and your training, like that's like a signal that you need to spend some time improving it. So
A really very common bit of feedback I get from new people who come in is everybody's talking about you guys, so I had to come try you out.
that's a good
And all I get, all I get is really great feedback from clients. They just say, "Hey, everyone's talking about you. I figured I'd come try out, see what it's all about." And that to me means we're moving in the right direction.
Okay. Well, I want to hit one other final one that comes to mind, and that is just an owner having like a certain, I guess you could say, thermostat for risk, like risk tolerance and willingness to invest. And like it's only set to a certain temperature and then it stops. And so, for example, a lot of gym owners, they have the risk tolerance to get the lease and pay their first and last on their lease. And then they have the risk tolerance to go get equipment and to paint the place and to buy a desk and to get the sign out front. And then for some reason, at some point, that risk tolerance just shuts down. And then they go into, penny pinching mode and they stop investing. And it's like, sure, those are all startup costs, but to ongoingly grow the business, you need to continue to invest into marketing. You need to invest into sales. You need to invest into team. And it's like, those are the three things that drive the business forever. And they'll spend a good amount of money on that front end. And then they'll cut off all spending right when it's about to get into growth mode. And those are the three things that grow the business is marketing, sales, and your team. And so they're like, I don't want to invest in marketing because we don't have the money. I don't want to invest in, like we hear with Gym Reinforcement, it's a sales follow-up service, or I don't want to go and spend money on coaches. I'll just run more sessions. And it's like, why was your temperature of your risk tolerance so high when you were in the opening stage? And then you just dropped off down to zero when it was growth expenses. Is that something you've seen in gym owners or like, I don't know, you've ever dealt with?
Yeah, I see it a lot. There's this fear of like they want to grow a certain way, right? Word of mouth, hopefully it keeps going. But I'm telling you, you cannot sacrifice marketing, especially through Facebook. You cannot sacrifice it at all because if you're trying to save money and not spending on Facebook advertising, I'm telling you flat out, soon enough, you're just not going to get any money because if I did anything right, is I learned to spend on advertising. I just accepted it as part of the business, and for me, it's been a home run because especially now I'm with you and your service, Grace. She's just amazing at sales. That's the other thing that I'm so glad I spent money on hiring out to do my sales. Because when I had to do it, man, I'll tell you, I found every excuse to avoid it, and it would be like a week or two that goes by before I even called any lead. And before you know it, I'm like 50 leads behind and I'll probably get put only a little dent in it one day. But when I have somebody that I've hired out to do it, it's their job to reach out every day, hit those leads. And, I get, and since I started marketing about 6 weeks ago, I've sold $4,500 worth of trials. That's, over 110, 115, 50 trials, actually 120 trials. And that pays for my marketing, my sales, and my ads.
Yeah, I love it, man. And, in terms of like, I don't know, I've just seen this like people go buy assault bikes or ski ergs or a new set of dumbbells and, easily drop 2 to 10 grand in equipment. And then it's like your ad agency needs $1,000 ad spend. You say no, a follow-up service is 2,000. You say no. And it's like, how do you see the assault bike literally bringing money into the gym? How do you see that rack of dumbbells bringing money into the gym? But I think it's something that they like to buy. Like it's a dopamine hit. It gives you a rush. And, the other one's a risk. It's kind of more scary. There's more fear. Am I going to see a return? But I'll tell you, you're going to definitely see a much larger return than you would on equipment. Like it's almost a net zero return.
Here's my example of focusing on what's really important and spending money on important important things. There was another fit body not far from us, about 30, 40 minutes away. And the owner spent a lot of money on equipment, aesthetics. I mean, so much more money than I even had when I started. Place looked beautiful. I opened literally on a shoestring budget. I bought everything secondhand. I had garbage in the back of my studio. I didn't even have a sign up front. My front windows had construction paper over it because I opened before I had a permit and I didn't want people to know.
Yeah.
And guess what? I had over 320 people in my grand opening. The other fit body I told you about just now struggled mightily and they're no longer in business. You know, I put my money into marketing and I put my money into my team. And the equipment, it's nice once in a while you get some good, cool new equipment. But like I said, I bought secondhand. I still have these metal dumbbells I hate, but they do the job. And they don't come here for the equipment. They come here for the experience.
Use that as like a carrot. Like if I hit this EFT or this profit goal, I get to buy this equipment. Like it's an after effect, not a front end fact. So, yeah, man, I totally know we could riff all day, but like, again, these were just things that I know we wanted to get off our chest and talk about. Owners that are like not investing in marketing and that's holding them back. All of these are mindsets and beliefs holding people back. Like thinking marketing is an expense, not an investment. It's a requirement to be in business. Like there is no getting around it. You have to market. Otherwise you're dying every day at a time. And it's going to eventually be the death of 1,000 cuts. It's just every day you don't market, you're being cut, and then you eventually go out, right? Not communicating. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, there's that fear too, that even if you hire somebody, you want to give them, the keys right away because you're afraid to screw something up, right?
Yeah.
But I was, I got to know you and I, and I had another service before that they did pretty well. And then when I started working with you and your service, I said, okay, here are all my leads. Go to it. Let's see what you got. And so far it's been an amazing return. I went from I think maybe 130 members, and in about 4 or 5 months, maybe 6 months, I was up close to 300. Now we kind of had to take a step back. It was, during the fall time, people, I had a bunch of cancellations. We had COVID related issues too. But now we're in serious growth mode again.
Nice.
And it's because I'm spending money on outsourcing the expertise that away at it with the little time I have.
Yeah, let people do the jobs that you don't like to do. There's someone out there that loves it. And then like, big word to use is trust. And I find a lot of gym owners struggle with trust to give someone full access. We even had one person like only trickle out a certain amount of leads every week. Like I'll give you 50 leads a week from my database. It's like, let us get in there and do our thing. Trusting a coach to have a key to the building, not trusting somebody to make a sale. Like you only go as far as, the strength of your team. So you got to start to trust and train other people. We've all been burned by somebody bad on our team, but they're not all bad apples. I believe there's more good than bad. You just got to go out there and find them. I've even had a coach say they didn't put a gym owner say they didn't put a coach ad up because they had a coach steal from them and they just didn't want to like hire anybody. It's like, you're going to let that one experience, like you'll never hire again because one bad person, like you can't do that. That would be like a client not say, I can't sign up with you because the last gym I was at burned me and they double drafted my card or they, hurt me. So for that reason, because they burned me, you suffer, I don't sign up with you. You would say, you're crazy, man. Like, give me a chance. That's those other people out there that want to work with you and grow your business, but you're not letting them in because a past team member, burned you. So
yeah, I learned one thing from a fellow franchisee and of a different franchise. And he owned a bunch of like restaurant franchises. And I asked him, how do you deal with, employees stealing from you? And he just said, look, you just have to accept there's going to be some amount of of that going on. You just have to live with it, deal with it as it happens, and keep moving, because you can't survive without a good team. And every once in a while, somebody gets through the cracks who's not going to do you right.
Yeah. And, the third one we hit on, guys, was the non-improving product or client experience. You can't just rest on your laurels and what you've built today, plan to milk that to the end of time. You have to keep making your product better. And then the good news for you is you get to then charge more if you put the energy into making it more valuable. Add in nutrition coaching, add in corrective exercise where you're going to relieve people of pain, give people more attention where they're going to work in a smaller group, perhaps something where the product is better, and then you can charge more for it. And then, that's another way to grow your business. You don't have to chase volume. There's other ways to get there, right? So we said,
a quick example of that too. Sorry, I'm going on. But about a year ago, when I lost 3 coaches at one time, I had to take over the coaching for all 3 of them, and that put me in a really weird place. But I was able to get through it, and during that time, I got into the weeds, and I realized, wow, our formats, our workouts, our exercises were kind of stale. So I just started experimenting with all different types of formats, different exercises, and then within about a month, I got lots of great feedback, and clients were like, ever since you took over, things have been so much more fun. The workouts have been so much better. Now, we're still evolving, looking for different ways to, come up with different formats, different finishers, just try to make things better. Always think of new ways to bring a better experience.
Love it. All right. Well, Quan, I'm going to let you go, man. Thank you for jumping on here, just riffing. I know, again, we both know a lot of gym owners, and we see a lot of things that hold them back. And I guess we just want to record this to see if this helps them get out of their own way. I'm a firm believer that you swap people into a business and it could completely just change it. And like, if you take a different owner with a different mindset and plug them into a failing business, watch them turn it around. They didn't get more equipment. They didn't move it. You just put somebody in with a different mindset. And that's why a lot of, what I try to talk about gym owners is getting them out of their mindsets and their beliefs that don't serve them, and try to, move towards the ones that do, so that they can see the results that they're looking for out of their business. But the first place to look, guys, is yourself. As hard as that is to hear, you are usually your worst enemy. It's not other people out to get you. It's not the city, the president, the people on your team, your clients, your family. You are blocking you. And the more you can kind of do that self-work, the faster you can get to where you want to go.
That's 100% the truth. And like I said, before I started, I had to come to terms of who I wanted to be as a gym owner. I had to understand what that was. I'm still work in progress. I have a lot of things I need to work on personally. But
you're both, man.
Going in the right direction.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching this. Hopefully you got some value out of it. Kwansu, thank you for having me, sir. I appreciate you.
All right, man. I appreciate you.